I'm Rick, and I want to talk about milling your own timber for use in speargun construction. I'm not talking about timber for use in stocks and the main long structural parts of the speargun. I'm talking more about decorative timbers that add to the pizzazz of the speargun. The right mix of contrasting colours and grain can really end up looking quite attractive. It looks good on muzzles of all different kinds and on handles. You can also do inlays. I scrounge around and get my timber from hither and thither. Recently, I had to chop back some timber in the backyard. Cut off some big branches and some main trunks. The result was a pile of rounds, but they're still green. Some are clearly unsuitable, and others have borer running through them and wouldn't be structurally stable. I got a couple of good ones and took them with me to the Wonthaggi Woodcrafters Club. The club has a robust bandsaw, which is suitable for milling the rounds. But for safety's sake, you don't just shove the round through the saw. You need to stabilise the round by screwing a square piece of board onto one side. Nothing fancy, just enough to hold it and stabilise it. Get the board snug up against the fence, then push the round through the saw. What I wanted to do was to get a quarter sawn blank, so I only cut blanks from the middle of the round. You can see how the grain lines run square across the blank. This produces the most stable blank, which is less likely to move as the timber dries. And you can see there's some interesting looking grain that's come up. This might not be strong, looks good, but might not be strong. I scribbled on the date and the species of timber, just in case I might forget. I cut the blanks about 25mm thick. Any thicker, and it'll take a lot longer for them to dry, and any thinner, if they bend and warp or whatever, you can't cut extra wood out to make them flat. I bundled up the green wood and taped it together so I could put it somewhere to dry. I cut off some little sticks to shove between blanks, which will allow air to move through and water to evaporate. Water evaporates faster out of the end grain. If there's an unbalance in the way the water is evaporating out, it can cause the timber to split. So what you need to do is to seal that end grain. As a sealer, I painted on a bit of old house paint that I had hanging around. The next big task is to let that green wood dry out. Some people call it seasoning the timber. The rule of thumb is that it takes timber about 25mm thick about a year to naturally dry. So I've got to wait. I'm going to stack it under my house and come back in about a year's time. I'll put it way down here, way up the back where it's not going to be disturbed, but where there's plenty of airflow. Milling timber yourself is not all that easy, and it certainly involves a lot of waiting, but it'll get you some timber that's a little bit different, a little bit unusual, and stuff you just can't buy anywhere. And if you want a unique speargun that looks really good, it might just be the way to go.